Okay, guys, so I'm going to go through this. I ended up switching to my Death Knight as my main for, I think, the rest of this expansion. Mainly just because, I don't know, like, I'm having a lot more fun with it. Um, so, this is just a random group for Mythic Zero. Just recording it to just kind of showcase some of the changes. I think, like, I don't, there wasn't a lot of changes from class to class in this expansion, but yeah, it was a good time. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Um, Death Knight is so weird, like on the pole. Sometimes I got to figure out a better way to not take so many spiky damage. This druid healer was good, but he talked probably the entire run. So just give a little insight onto like what's going on, and anybody who's plays a Death Knight, they'll obviously already know a lot of this information. So basically, what I'm trying to do is trying to practice the pulls that I'm going to be doing in Mythic Plus. So there's two groups in there. Well, there's technically three in that room. I want to pull them out here because the one with the blue bar has the ability to fear. And on the chance that I don't get the interrupt off, I don't want them running into another group. Like these Mythic Zeros really truck. I mean, they hurt pretty badly. So my weak aura here is showing like anything with a blue health bar has a caster spell that needs to be interrupted. The purple one is a stronger monster that can do a tank buster attack, so I have to, have mitigation up for that. But with Death Knight, you have mitigation up like all the time because of the way Death Strike works. So as that group is dying, I'm pulling the next group. Because one, I know that the healer's fine because the pull's been pretty tame. And I'm trying to get down my Mythic Plus routes because tomorrow starts Mythic Plus. So these guys, they hurt, but it's manageable between Death Strikes and stuff like that. So Death Knights, unlike other classes, have three different resources that they manage. So you have Runic Power, which is generated when you use your runes, which you have like 6 runes that regenerate over time. And using your Runic Power will generate more runes, so you want to keep those two flowing. And now we have, and we've had it really since Legion, but now it's a little bit more cemented. Is we have Bone Shield charges. So a Bone Shield charge makes it where the next attack you take, I don't know if it's an auto attack or any attack. I think it's auto attacks. You take 20% less damage, but you have two abilities that use those Bone Shield charges to do effects. So you have one called Tombstone. So Tombstone will use up to 5 Bone Shield charges, and it does a set amount of damage and gives you a Absorb Shield based on how many charges you use. Pretty much you always want to use 5 charges. That's just the way it goes. What else we got? So the other ability that uses Bone Shield charges is and anybody who played Wrath of the Lich King is going to know, is an ability called Bone Storm. Yeah, here's the healer bragging about doing DPS because he doesn't have to heal me because I heal myself. This guy just talks like the whole time. It's better than being like edgelordy or like rude, so I'll take it. So on pulls, I've learned, and I've done a couple dungeons since this run that I feel are a little bit more knowledgeable. And I really need to get better at using Icebound Fortitude more often because it only has a 2-minute cooldown, and that's a 30% reduction, 30 or 40. And the cool thing about Death Knight is you have various abilities that make you immune to stuns, and a lot of these monsters will stun. So the guy here, the blue health, the Mender, is going to try to cast heal spells on these machines. So we want to make sure pretty much anything with a blue health bar, at least according with this add-on, you should be interrupted. But the Howlers over there can do an AoE. I just pulled that group because they were patrolling in, and I'd rather have the jump on them. So yeah, you can see I'm spending my runic power on. You spend your runic power on Death Strike, and you, yeah. So also, there's an ability Death Knights have called Reaper's Mark. It's a new ability for this expansion. Reaper's Mark is interesting. It uses 2 runes, and it does a lot of damage, but that's all it does. It's just damage. So in a situation to where you're going to lose bone shield charges, or you're going to die, or you're going to need to use Death Strike, Reaper's Mark takes a seat. I've been trying to use it on cooldown. It has a 45-second cooldown, and it does a lot of damage, but it does not come before healing yourself or keeping, your health stable, because a Death Knight can go from full to dead back to full very rapidly if they're not making it a smooth transition. So Guardian Druid was a lot easier in that regard, because Guardian is just pop the stuff, heal, mitigation, GG. I mean, it's like 5 buttons. It's a really, really easy spec. So these two groups you don't want to pull at the same time. You want to pull the patrol and one of the groups, so I do that, and I LOS pull them. Well, I've tried to. Problem with pugs is they don't ever listen, so to kind of stupid proof it. So I pop a lot of my 3-minute cooldowns on this pull, because that patrol is pretty deadly, and the boss is not so bad. The trash, in my experience, has been a lot more deadly than the bosses have been, with the exception of Arakara. Probably that one's a rough one. So again, blue health bars need to be interrupted, and at the weak core I have, it will have a dotted line around the ability that really needs to get interrupted, or you're going to have a bad time. So just watch for that. It makes it customizing my UI the way I have has made tanking very easy compared to the default UI. I honestly don't know how people play WoW with the default UI. I don't remember life before weak ores, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, there's not really much to say about this pull. It's just standard stuff. You got a couple tank busters to watch out for, which with a Death Knight you don't really have to worry too much about tank busters unless it's from a boss, because it doesn't matter. This boss, okay, so this boss do a big giant AoE. You gotta move out of it. You could AMS it, I guess. You could anti-magic shield it, because it's a magical source of damage. You can use it. And what anti-magic shield does is absorbs a set amount of magic damage and converts it to runic power. So it's actually smart to stand in magic damage if you have AMS up, because you can turn those into death strikes. So he's going to spawn a bunch of little shards in the room, and if they don't get killed, he'll absorb them into himself, and it'll give him a big absorb shield that needs to be burned through. You can see he gained a little bit of one, but not a lot. I think he gains a little bit of one regardless, but the DPS were pretty good in this group, honestly. I was actually kind of surprised. They were interrupting, they were killing range stuff. The healer was doing good damage, which is rare, really. I was a little nervous about doing this dungeon, if I'm honest with you, because I've had earlier in the week I had a lot of not great experiences. So we're going to take the minecart back to the entrance, and we're going to head down the other path. You can choose which boss you do first. Honestly, I have no real preference. I just go take a path that I'm standing near. I'm waiting for everybody to come from the minecart. Easy way to die as a tank is just to run ahead of the group before they're there and just fucking get killed. So a lot of this stuff is kind of the same stuff, these ads, and they tend to... The healer is still talking. He's talking very inappropriately for some reason. Alright, so we have a lot of healers, we have a lot of range units here, there's a lot of patrols, things like that. So you can do this pull, and then you can, as a DK, you can actually death grip the other ads over there and pull them in, which is good, because when you do Mythic Plus, you want to do like 2 groups here, and you want to do 2 more groups after. WoW has changed the game this expansion, but a lot of it when you're tanking is understanding your healer. You really, and that typically comes from more experienced tanks. I've been tanking for so long that you just kind of get a feel for it. Like, okay, is my healer good, bad? Well, if the healer is struggling, then you probably want to stick to one pack at a time, right? Because there's no sense in stressing your healer out and causing a wipe, because you were impatient and you're like, oh, well, the healer should know better. No, the healer shouldn't know better. The healer has a certain skill set, and you need to respect that. So we're going to go ahead and pull and do a little LOS pull, Burning Crusade style. So here, oh yeah, so also, as far as the Death Knight goes, so you have an ability called Morrow Rend, which uses 2 runes, and it will generate 3 Bone Shield charges. And based on the, based on the amount of times that you do it, I think every third Morrow Rend will do like this huge AoE damage ability. So if like I'm doing fine, damage is pretty steady, or I have a cooldown up like Lichborn or Icebound Fortitude, I'll start throwing Morrow Rends out there so that I can get a really big, because it does a lot of damage. I mean, it hits for like 600, 700k. It does a lot of damage. And you can see here, like my health dipped a bit, and it's because I'm not death striking as much as I need to. Like, that's the cool about Death Knight is if you mess up, odds are you messed up. It was you. It wasn't the healer. It wasn't the DPS. If you're dead outside of one-shot mechanics, you probably fucked up. I'm pretty over-geared for these dungeons. There's no gear in here worth grabbing for me. I just wanted to get in here to practice my route and, just do dungeons. I legitimately enjoy doing that. I always have. So normally what I usually do is I pull the pack to the left by the mining cart and just grab them there. But I, for whatever reason, decided not to do that this run. We're going to kill them when we go after the boss, but you can do it whenever you want. You're probably going to have to. There's a couple people who say you can skip it, but in a pug, you're risking a lot to do that, if I'm honest with you. And this needs to be interrupted, so my interrupt is on cooldown. So with a Death Knight, you have a couple options when that happens. So yeah, so the druid's asking me to wait until Bloodlust is off cooldown, which is going to be about 20 seconds. And he's right, because this boss is pretty rough. So this boss, there's 2 of them. There's a machine and a dude. There's like a flame ball that goes out. One of them will pull out a machine. The other one pushes it at you. There's some void zones to watch out for. The machine will shoot fire orbs. I believe that the best strat on this fight, honestly, besides the where you tank them and stuff, avoid the crap essentially, which is like 90% of boss fights, and try to kill them at the same time. Because if you kill the machine, the guy will do this big channel, and the ability that the human boss does can be interrupted. That can be interrupted. You see, I interrupted it there. It doesn't hurt terribly, but I mean, why not? Because there's nothing else to interrupt in this fight. So you can see the DPS is really on it. This hunter is absolutely gross. I mean, he's doing so much damage, which is kind of cool to see a survival hunter doing so good. Haven't seen that in a while. And of course, the explosion happens and people die in it because they stand in it, but whatever. I'm waiting for the healer to res him, and then we're going to go to the mining cart. So we're going to end up pulling try to do the skip, but in a pug, skipping is so risky that I don't know, it's honestly not worth it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to see based on the MDI footage I watched. So we're going to go, and I see that thing gets aggro, so I'm just like, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to pull. Yeah, the healer is on it, keeps me up until I can get my runic power generated up. I needed to do more hard strikes for sure. And then I pop Bone Storm. So Bone Storm will use up to 5 Bone Shield charges, and it will do pulsing AoE damage, and it will heal me for 2% of my health every second. which is crazy good. Even on single target, it's not a big heal, but it's a heal. It's better than nothing. All right, so here you want to pull the 2 guards alone because they will charge people, and that charge can one-shot people. So you want to kill them by themselves. So the strat here, as far as I'm concerned, is the 2 guards. In the next room, you want to pull the big one of the rock guys, and 2 of those as kill them, and then you do the 3 casters, and then 1 group on the left, and then 1 group on the right, because the rock guys will do a giant earth-shattering attack, and the more you take, the more damage it does. And the little ads will drop earth totems, and that hurts too. So we're gonna pop here. I think I end up popping Tombstone at some point, which I should be doing on the pole, really, because Tombstone is so strong. Honestly, so we interrupt those. It looks like we have people doing a knock up. Somebody died, but you res like right by this room, so I don't bother with a good old breezy because it would be a waste. So you go ahead and I pop up Abomination's Limb and race dead and get the ghoul out there doing damage. And kind of watch out for the void zones. Start popping Death Strikes. I'm still learning Death Knight. I didn't really tank on Death Knight until Dragon Flight, honestly. But when I did, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's so fun, honestly. And this druid is so gross. He's talking about how he's got a chub and stuff. It's so nasty. All right, so I'm trying to get this guy over here so I can get some cleave on him. But then, has a tank in pugs, you're going to be the one hitting totems. You're going to be the one doing the majority of the interrupting. Unless you have really solid DPS, in random groups, just prepare to interrupt because you're going to be. They hate interrupting. So over here, I'm going to pop. I'm going to use Death's Caress to kind of pull these guys into this other room. Didn't quite work as well as I wanted to, but you really only want to do one of these at a time. On heroic, you can pull the whole fucking room to the boss if you wanted to, but on this, you really don't want this because they will hurt a lot. And this is just Mythic 0. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Mythic Plus, which is going to be even scarier. But our Hunter and our Mage are really killing it in here. The healer's doing good too. It's not surprising to see a Death Knight out heal a healer. So if you look at details on the right, yeah, that's normal to see a Death Knight do that. Just part of the class design. Like Tombstone counts as a heal, Death Strike counts as a heal, all that stuff. All right, so same thing here. You just want to pop Imprint Blood, get everything situated here, try to avoid the slams. The Earth Slam that the guy does is unavoidable, so that you're just going to take on the chin. But everything else is pretty standard. I'll start explaining the boss here in a second. All right, so this boss, he does a frontal blast. He will put a radius circle on everybody. It explodes and puts void zones on the ground. He's also going to put a really nasty dot on you, and the only way to get rid of it is to walk near the portals without hitting the portal. If you hit the portal, you're instantly dead. And the mage was just blasting, so I had to taunt off him. That's the fight. That's the entire fight. It's not a hard fight. It's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. But, and let's see right here, and let's see, I have the debuff, so then I walk over to this portal. Boom, it gets removed, and you just walk right back. That's it. That's the whole fight. In a perfect world, you would put these things on the outside of the room so that the center room is clear, but it's a pug, so what are you going to do, right? And the same thing. You just keep going about it, avoid the blast, try to move shit out of the middle of the room. And then I get the debuff again, so then I start running to the portal, boom, drop it off. Back to the boss. And it's just that. That's the whole fight. Over and over again. As a tank, I would probably do better than me. I probably should have popped Icebound Fortitude, if for no other reason than to just give the healer a break. We have that frontal. Let's avoid that. And that's it. That's Mythic Stone Vaults, and not terrible. It's such a fun dungeon, and on Mythic, this guy has a chance to drop a mount. So if you're one of those players who loves mounts, go nuts. Drop the debuff off. Back to the boss. That's it, kids. So that is Mythic Stone Vaults. Overall, it was a solid run. I enjoyed everything about it. I didn't need any of the gear. I'm pretty much done with Mythic Zeros and everything with Delves this week. So, all right. Well, that is a wrap on that one, guys. So that's all I got. All right. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.